All right, so today we're diving deep into karma yoga, specifically through the Bhagavad Gita.
Oh, yeah.
Chapter 3.
Chapter 3.
Um,
Oh, the Arjuna.
yeah, Arjuna and his whole dilemma, dealing with action and consequence.
Exactly. It's a pretty important chapter,
Mm-hmm.
Really lays out a framework for living in the world without getting
Oh, yeah.
completely bogged down
Yeah.
by our actions and their consequences.
I know.
I was having a conversation with Krishna himself.
Yeah, it's interesting because I always thought of the Bhagavad Gita as this, I don't know, kind of dense philosophical text. But the way you're putting it, it sounds surprisingly relatable.
Oh, it is. It really is. Essentially, it's a dialogue between Arjuna, who's a warrior facing a moral dilemma, and then Krishna, who's his divine charioteer.
Okay.
And chapter 3 kind of gets to the heart of how we can act in a way that leads to liberation, not entanglement. Freedom from that weight.
So like at the beginning, our source material basically portrays Arjuna as like completely overwhelmed with the potential to cause suffering.
Oh, absolutely.
Through his actions, right. He's even thinking about just giving up entirely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, I can't do this. This is too much.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Krishna steps in and says, hey, there's this thing called detached action. This is the essence of karma yoga.
Right.
It's not about inaction. It's about changing your mindset about why we act.
See, that's what trips me up. How can you be detached from your actions?
Yeah.
Doesn't that lead to apathy?
Right. And that's the big misconception.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
People hear detachment and they think, oh, so I should just not care about anything. But that's not what it is.
Right.
Detachment isn't apathy. It's more about recognizing that we can control our actions.
Okay.
But not necessarily the results. You can put in your best effort, but you can't always control what happens as a consequence. Imagine like a doctor performing a surgery.
Right.
They're focused on the task at hand, their duty to the patient, their service.
Yeah.
Not on whether the surgery will be successful or not.
I'm starting to see the difference. Okay, so it's more about the intention behind the action.
Exactly.
Rather than fixating on the outcome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's where it gets really interesting because the Bhagavad Gita really emphasizes that it's those actions driven by personal gain, by that thirst for reward or recognition that truly bind us.
Right. But don't most of us act out of self-interest?
Sure.
Like at least some of the time?
Of course.
I mean, isn't that just part of being human?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's natural to desire certain outcomes.
Right.
Right? It's natural to want things to go your way.
Right.
To want recognition for what you do.
Right.
But the Bhagavad Gita uses this really powerful analogy to illustrate the problem with desire-driven action. It compares it to a fire that keeps burning because we keep adding fuel. And the fuel is our desire.
Right.
So we just keep feeding that fire, hoping that it will lead to lasting happiness.
Yeah.
But it never really does.
So how do we break free from that? If we're constantly chasing after something, how do we act without attachment?
The Bhagavad Gita suggests a radical shift in perspective.
Okay.
It says that when our actions are performed as a selfless offering to something greater than ourselves, to a higher purpose, they don't bind us in the same way.
Okay, hold on. You're going to have to break that down for me a little bit.
Sure.
What does it mean to act without selfish motives? Can you give me like a real world example?
Absolutely, yeah. Think about a parent caring for their child.
Right.
The act of changing diapers, preparing meals, comforting tears might seem mundane.
Yeah.
But when done with love,
right,
with devotion, with a sense of service, they become acts of karma yoga. Or think of a teacher who is truly passionate about sharing knowledge.
Yeah.
They're not attached to whether their students get A's.
Right.
They're focused on nurturing their curiosity, helping them grow.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. So it's not about like renouncing all desire.
Yeah.
It's about aligning our actions with something
bigger
than our own ego.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And here's a key point. The Bhagavad Gita isn't saying we should abandon all our responsibilities, go live in a cave, withdraw from the world.
Okay.
Actually, it suggests we should act within
Within our roles.
Our roles in society.
Oh, yeah.
But perform those actions with a sense of detachment.
Okay, but wouldn't that make it even harder to choose the right action? Like, how do we know if we're acting out of duty, versus just using detachment as an excuse to avoid responsibility?
That is such a good question.
Yeah.
And the Bhagavad Gita tackles that head on. It emphasizes discerning our dharma, our duty. It's about understanding what is required of us in each situation.
Right.
And then acting accordingly.
Okay, so how do we figure out our dharma?
Right.
Is it like, I don't know, like a job description? Or is it something deeper?
That's where things get really interesting and maybe a good place to stop for now.
So we left off talking about dharma. You said it gets even more interesting. I'm ready.
Well, dharma isn't like some fixed set of rules. It's more like, like a compass.
Okay.
Guiding us towards right action.
Yeah.
It considers our individual skills and our social roles and even the specific situation we find ourselves in.
So it's not as simple as like, my dharma is to be a doctor and just blindly follow that path no matter what.
Right. It takes real introspection.
Okay.
And a willingness to adapt.
Okay.
The Bhagavad Gita emphasizes that our dharma can change as we grow and as our situations change.
Okay, so going back to karma yoga, like if we're acting in accordance with our dharma, but with detachment, doesn't that sound a little bit emotionless? Like, are we supposed to turn off our feelings?
That's a good question. And no, not at all. Remember, detachment isn't about suppressing our emotions.
Okay.
It's about shifting our focus from the outcome to the quality of our actions.
So it's more about how we approach our actions, not trying to be indifferent to the results.
Exactly, yeah. The Bhagavad Gita compares this transformation to a muddy lake that gradually becomes clear.
Okay.
As we practice karma yoga,
Yeah.
our minds become less clouded by ego and desire. We start to see things more clearly.
It's a beautiful image. It makes me think about how often we're, caught up in our own little dramas.
Yeah.
And karma yoga could be a way to find some stillness and all that.
It absolutely can. And that purification of the mind leads to a profound sense of inner peace.
Yeah.
It's like a weight has been lifted.
Yeah.
And we can move through the world with more ease and grace.
But hold on. Couldn't someone use this whole detached action thing as an excuse to be lazy?
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, I don't need to put in any effort. It's all about detachment anyway.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And the Bhagavad Gita addresses this. It reminds us that karma yoga isn't about passivity.
Right.
It's about acting with intention and clarity and in alignment with our highest purpose.
So it's not a free pass to avoid our responsibilities.
Right.
It's actually a call to like step up and engage, but with a different kind of energy.
Yes. And that energy comes from a place of service, of offering our actions as a gift to something greater than ourselves.
Right. Like that doctor performing surgery.
Yes.
They're not focused on the outcome.
Right.
They're present in serving the patient.
Yeah. And the text takes it even a step further. It suggests that when we offer every action as a sacrifice to the divine, even simple things like washing dishes or folding laundry really can be transformed into acts of worship.
Okay. I gotta admit, I'm struggling to see how folding laundry could ever be an act of worship.
I hear ya.
It seems so ordinary.
Yeah. But think about it this way. What if you approached that task with gratitude?
Oh.
For the clothes that keep you warm.
Okay.
With care for the people who wear them.
Right.
And with the intention of creating a peaceful, harmonious space in your home. Suddenly, it's not just a chore.
Right.
It's a form of karma yoga.
Okay. So even like the smallest actions, we can infuse them with a deeper meaning.
That's the beauty of karma yoga. It invites us to bring awareness and intention to everything we do, recognizing the interconnectedness of all things.
Yeah, this is making me think about my relationship with work. I'm so driven by achieving goals and like climbing the ladder.
Yeah.
But I never really stop to think if I'm enjoying the journey.
And that brings us to a really important point that the Bhagavad Gita highlights. Karma yoga isn't just about our outward actions.
Okay.
It's about cultivating a state of inner peace.
Okay.
Freedom from suffering.
But if all action has consequences, like the source material says, can we ever truly escape that cycle of action and reaction?
That's a profound question. And one that the Bhagavad Gita really invites us to contemplate deeply.
Yeah.
It suggests that by detaching from the fruits of our actions, and surrendering to a higher purpose,
Yeah.
we can begin to break free from the cycle of suffering.
So it's not about avoiding action altogether. It's about acting with a different
Motivation.
motivation.
Yes. And that shift in motivation,
Yeah.
that's where the real magic happens. It's like we're tapping into a different source of energy.
Right.
One that's not fueled by ego or personal gain.
This is all making a lot of sense, but I gotta be honest, it
Yeah.
also feels kind of daunting. Like, how do we actually put this into practice
Right.
in our everyday lives? Well, that's the thing about karma yoga. It's a lifelong journey, not a destination.
Right.
The Bhagavad Gita doesn't give us a rule book, right?
Right.
It offers us a framework,
Right.
a set of principles
Right.
to experiment with and adapt to our own lives.
So it's not about achieving some perfect state of detachment. It's about continually practicing,
Exactly.
aligning our actions with our higher purpose.
Exactly. It's about embracing the journey
Yeah.
with all its ups and downs
Right.
and using every experience
Okay.
as an opportunity to grow.
This has been such an eye-opening experience. I feel like I'm walking away with a whole new perspective on how to live a more meaningful and fulfilling life.
That's great. And remember, it's not about effortlessly knowing your dharma
Right.
or achieving some perfect state of detachment.
Right.
It's about that continual practice, aligning your actions with your highest purpose,
Right.
showing up in the world with intention,
Yeah.
with a heart full of service. Yeah. Well said. And thanks so much for walking me through all this.
Of course.
I have a feeling this is just the beginning of a much deeper journey for me.
The journey is infinite,
Yeah.
and the rewards are immeasurable.
Yeah.
May we all continue to walk this path
Mm.
with curiosity and compassion and with a willingness to embrace the transformative power of karma yoga.
So we're back, and I'm ready to dive into this whole Dharma thing. It feels like a key piece of the karma yoga puzzle.
Yeah, it really is. It's one of those things that can seem so simple and complex at the same time.
Exactly. Like, I get that it's about duty and purpose, but how do you actually figure out what your Dharma is?
That's where the introspection comes in. The Bhagavad Gita encourages us to look inward,
Okay.
examine our unique talents, our values,
Okay.
and even our deepest desires.
So it's not just about what we're supposed to do,
Right.
but also what brings us a sense of fulfillment.
Yeah, exactly. It's about finding that sweet spot
Yeah.
where our skills and passions intersect with the needs of the world.
What if you're stuck in a job that you hate?
Yeah.
Or you feel like you're not living up to your potential? Does that mean you're like out of alignment
Right.
with your Dharma?
That's a really great question, and it's one a lot of people struggle with.
Right.
The Bhagavad Gita reminds us that Dharma isn't static.
Right.
It can evolve
Okay.
as we grow
Right.
and as our circumstances change.
So it's not about being trapped in some, predetermined role.
Exactly.
It's about continually seeking that alignment between who we are and what we do.
Precisely. And the Bhagavad Gita offers this really interesting story
Okay.
to illustrate this. It tells the story of a king
Okay.
who's facing all these huge challenges:
Mm.
war, betrayal, loss. But he continues to fulfill his duties
Wow.
with total dedication.
Okay.
He doesn't abandon his responsibilities,
Okay.
but he doesn't let those challenges
Right.
define him either.
So he stayed true to his Dharma,
Yeah,
even in the midst of all that chaos.
exactly.
That's powerful.
Right. That's a powerful lesson for all of us.
Yeah.
Karma yoga isn't about finding a life free from difficulty.
Right.
It's about finding that inner strength
Yeah.
and resilience to navigate those challenges
Right.
with grace and a sense of purpose.
I love how this is all weaving together.
Yeah.
Action, intention, purpose, Dharma. It's starting to feel like a tapestry.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
It offers us this holistic view of life
Yeah.
that integrates our inner world
Okay.
with our outward actions.
This whole concept of karma yoga is really resonating with me personally. I've always been a pretty goal-oriented person.
Sure.
But I often find myself feeling really stressed and burned out. I'm realizing I've been so focused on the outcome that I've lost sight of the journey itself.
And that's where the practice of karma yoga can be transformative. It invites us to shift our focus from the destination to the quality of our steps along the way.
It's like learning to appreciate each brushstroke instead of just waiting for the painting to be done.
Exactly. And when we approach life that way, with that kind of presence and intention,
Yeah.
even the most ordinary things can be filled with meaning and purpose.
Yeah.
You know?
This deep dive has been so eye-opening.
Okay.
I feel like I'm walking away with a whole new perspective
That's great.
on how to live a more fulfilling life
Awesome.
and meaningful life.
Yeah.
You know?
And remember, it's not about effortlessly knowing your dharma
Right.
or achieving some perfect state of detachment.
Yeah.
It's about the continual practice
Right.
of aligning your actions with your highest purpose.
Yeah, well said.
Of showing up in the world with intention,
Okay.
with a heart full of service.
I feel like this is just the beginning.
It is. The journey is infinite, and the rewards are immeasurable. May we all continue to walk this path with curiosity and compassion,
Right.
and a willingness to embrace the transformative power of karma yoga.
So we're back, and I'm ready to really dig into this whole Dharma thing. It feels like a pretty important part of karma yoga.
It is a key piece,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, and it's one of those things that can be so simple
Right.
and yet so complex.
Right. Like, I get that it's about, duty
Yeah.
and purpose,
Right.
but how do you actually,
Yeah, how do you figure out
figure out what it is?
what your dharma is?
Yeah, and that's where that introspection comes in, right? The Bhagavad Gita says, look inward.
Oh, okay.
Examine your talents, your values,
Right.
your deepest desires.
So it's not just about what you're supposed to do.
Mhm.
It's about what brings you
Fulfillment.
fulfillment.
Yeah.
It's about finding that place where your skills and passions meet the needs of the world.
Okay, now what if you're like stuck in a job you hate?
Right.
Or you feel like you're not using all your skills and talents?
Right.
Does that mean you're like out of alignment with your dharma?
That's a great question. It's one that a lot of people face.
Yeah.
And, the Bhagavad Gita reminds us that dharma isn't static.
Okay.
It changes as we change.
Right.
And as our circumstances change.
So you're not just trapped in some
Predetermined.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's about continuously looking for that
Seeking that alignment between who you are and what you do in the world.
Okay.
The Bhagavad Gita has this
Okay.
interesting story to illustrate this point.
Okay.
It tells the story of a king
Right.
who's dealing with all these massive challenges.
Okay.
War, betrayal, loss.
Wow.
But he keeps going,
Yeah.
fulfilling his duties
Right.
with incredible dedication. He doesn't just give up and say, forget it.
Yeah.
But he also doesn't let the challenges, completely crush him,
Right.
define him.
So he stayed true to his dharma,
Yeah.
even with all that going on. Exactly.
Wow. That's powerful.
Yeah. It's a powerful lesson, right?
Karma yoga isn't about finding a life without problems. It's about finding that inner strength, that resilience to keep going even when things are tough.
Right.
To meet those challenges with a sense of purpose.
Yeah. I love how this is all coming together. Action, intention, purpose,
Yeah.
dharma. It's like this beautiful.
It's all connected, right?
Yeah. It's like a tapestry.
That's the beauty of the Bhagavad Gita. It's this holistic view of life,
Right. Right.
that integrates our inner world with our outer actions.
Okay.
Everything's connected.
This whole concept of karma yoga is really it's speaking to me.
Good. I'm glad.
I've always been such a goal-oriented person.
Sure.
I'm always thinking about what's next.
Yeah.
What do I need to do next?
Right.
But I find myself getting, I get stressed.
Yeah.
I get burnt out. I'm realizing I've been so focused on the outcome that I've completely lost sight of the journey.
Yeah. And that's where the practice of karma yoga can really help.
Yeah.
It's about shifting your focus from that end goal to the steps you take along the way.
Right.
How you approach each moment.
It's like enjoying each brushstroke when you're painting.
Exactly.
Instead of just racing
to the finish line.
Yeah, just trying to get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we can approach life that way, even the most mundane things can be filled with meaning and purpose.
Yeah, this whole deep dive has been so eye-opening for me.
Good.
I feel like I'm walking away with a whole new perspective on how to live a more fulfilling life.
I'm so glad to hear that.
A more meaningful life.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
Right.
Right? It's not about instantly knowing your dharma
Right.
or achieving perfect detachment.
Right.
It's about the practice, showing up every day, aligning your actions with your highest purpose, bringing that intention to everything you do.
Yeah.
And approaching the world with a heart full of service.
Well said. And thank you so much for taking me through all of this.
You're very welcome. I enjoyed it.
It's been, yeah, it's been really incredible.
It's been a great conversation.
Yeah.
And I think this is a great place to wrap up. Remember, it's a journey, not a destination, and we're all in this together. Keep exploring, keep practicing, and see where it takes you.
Awesome. Thanks again.
You're welcome.